Hi, my name is Ali, and this is my makeup video for class number 21. In this video, I'm going to be discussing the mechanical and neurophysiological model of plyometric exercise. I'm going to be talking about how these two models relate to the stretch shortening cycle, and I'm also going to be providing detailed examples of exercises that use and don't use the stretch shortening cycle. Plyometric training is very important for improving power, speed, and athletic performance, especially in sports like football, basketball, and track and field. To fully understand how plyometrics work, we need to understand both the mechanical and neurophysiological contributions to force production. The mechanical model focuses on how the body stores and releases energy during movement. Specifically, it involves the storage of elastic energy in the muscles and tendons during a rapid stretch. When a muscle is lengthened quickly during the eccentric phase, elastic energy is stored in structures like the tendons and the connective tissues. This stored energy can be released during the concentric phase to produce more force. A good way to think about this is like a spring or a rubber band. The farther you stretch a rubber band, the farther it's gonna shoot. And whenever you're stretching it out, it's storing the energy. That will be the eccentric phase. As soon as you let it go, it will go into the concentric phase. For example, an example of a plyometric exercise will be a vertical jump. When you quickly jump into a squat position, your muscles and tendons stretch and store more energy. If you immediately reverse that movement and jump upwards, that stored energy helps you jump higher and more explosively. However, timing is very important. If there's a delay between the stretch and the contraction, then the stored energy is lost as heat, and the benefit is reduced. This is why athletes are coached to move quickly and explosively rather than slowly. A slow squat followed by a jump does not take advantage of the mechanical model because the stored energy just disappears. So, overall, the mechanical model explains how elastic energy contributes to increased force production when movements are performed quickly and efficiently. The neurophysiological model focuses on how the nervous system contributes to force production during plyometric movements. Inside our muscles, we have sensory receptors called muscle spindles. These muscle spindles, they detect how much and how quickly a muscle is being stretched. When a muscle is rapidly stretched, the muscle spindle sends a signal to the spinal cord, which it immediately sends a signal back to the muscle to contract. This is known as a stretch flex. An example of an plyometric exercise, whenever you're doing a counter movement jump, the rapid downward movement, it activates the muscle spindles, which then triggers a stronger contraction as you jump upwards. Another important point is that the nervous system becomes more efficient with training. As athletes perform plyometric exercises over time, their nervous system adapts, allowing for faster and more powerful contractions. This is one reason why plyometric training is so effective for improving athletic performance. It trains not just the muscles but also the nervous system. So, in conclusion, the neurophysiological model it explains how the body uses reflexes and neural activation to enhance force production during rapid movements. The stretch shortening cycle combines both the mechanical and the neurophysiological models into one powerful system. It consists of three phases. The first phase is the eccentric phase, where the muscle lengthens and it stores the elastic energy. With a rubber band, it's like stretching it out in that beginning stage. The second phase is the amortization phase. which is the transition between the eccentric and the concentric phases. This phase needs to be very short because any delay can, just like we talked about, it can cause that stored elastic energy to be lost as heat. The third phase is the concentric phase, when the muscle contracts and releases the stored energy, producing force. So if we think about a vertical jump, the first phase will be dropping down into a squat, which is the eccentric phase. The amortization phase is that slight delay between when you're dropping and when you're exploding back up. It's at your lowest point in the squat. And the third phase, the eccentric phase, is when you're exploding upwards. Another example would be in a depth jump. An athlete steps off of a box, lands, and then immediately jumps again. The rapid transition allows the athlete to fully utilize the stretch shortening cycle. If the athlete pauses too long after landing, then the movement is no longer a plyometric because the stored energy is lost. So as soon as the athlete hits the ground, they must bounce back up. So that explains the stretch shortening cycle, which is what makes plyometric exercises explosive and effective for improving power. Now, to compare plyometrics versus non-plyometric exercises, I'm going to use the stretch shortening cycle to do as an example. So an example of a plyometric exercise that uses the stretch shortening cycle would be the box jumps, the depth jumps that we talked about, as well as the vertical jumps. Or upper body wise, we can use clap push-ups as an example. These movements they involve a rapid stretch followed immediately by an explosive contraction. For example, in a box jump, the quick downward movement followed by the immediate jump uses both stored elastic energy and the stretch reflex. But if we modify these exercises, we can remove the stretch shortening cycle. For example, if you perform a squat, you pause at the bottom for a few seconds and then jump, you're no longer using your stored elastic energy effectively. Another example is stepping off the box with the depth jumps. Whenever you drop and land in that squat position, if you hold your squat for a few seconds, you're not gonna be using the stretch shortening cycle anymore. Even in the upper body movements, a fast plyometric push-up uses the stretch shortening cycle, while it's just a slow regular push-up doesn't. The key difference is that plyometric exercises are reactive and explosive, while non-plyometric exercises are controlled and they're slower. In conclusion, the mechanical model, it explains how elastic energy is stored and released. The neurophysiological model, it explains to us how the nervous system, it enhances force production and the stretch shortening cycle by sending those signals to our spinal cord. And the stretch shortening cycle just combines both of those into a powerful system which produces explosive movements. So understanding these concepts is essential for designating effective training programs and improving athletic performance. An effective athlete must always have plyometric exercises into their program, as well as the non-plyometric controlled and slow movements for different reasons. The plyometrics, they work on your power, speed, and especially for athletes that are training for a specific sport like football or basketball that has those explosive movements, is very crucial. But so are the non-plyometric exercises to build strength, power, and hypertrophy, depending on if you're a bodybuilder or not. But yeah, that concludes video number 21. And yeah, that is it for 3